Hello, hello. Don't know how far behind everyone is. Oh, I can see myself. I'm currently monitoring myself on my other computer. And it seems like I'm coming through. Hello, everybody. So, tonight we have an extra special treat. At least I think it is. It's a treat for me. So, I'm going to be performing a set of essentially live coding in Super Collider. Now, originally, the plan was for this to be a marathon concert. And I will be repeating this as people stream them in. But unfortunately, due to various catastrophic equipment failures and the like, I'm going to have to put off part of the set. In fact, several sets to next week. Good news is I'll be back next week to do more. And it doesn't mean I'm not performing tonight, though. In fact, I have a pretty fun set to open with. Well, to open this campfire with. And just imagine that we have a week-long live coding jamboree. So, in fact, for those of you who are watching and have done work in the Super Collider programming language before, tonight's performance might be of particular interest because not only is it in Super Collider, but I'm making use of a special live coding centric preprocessor. And by that, I mean it's a Quark or an extension you can download called DDW Chucklib Live Code. And a lot of the grammar, the syntax in Super Collider is then changed to facilitate, I would say, a specific kind of live coding. I'm not going to spoil what that is. Those of you who have seen me code before probably already have a feel of my style. So, yeah, I would be doing you a disservice by revealing any more. But after I finish tonight's set, I'm going to essentially walk you through what I did and how it works. And so, for those of you who might be interested in getting their feet wet in live coding, this particular library that was developed by a Super Collider dev extraordinaire, H. James Harkins, that you should probably give this Quark a try because it's one of the, I would say, probably one of the easiest inroads to the wonderful performance practice that is live coding in Super Collider. But before we get started in that, I would like to ask all of you to check the description of this video below, as you'll find a link to the Contemporary Art Music website. We are seeking donations. Campground 23 is just around the corner. We've got some fantastic composers and performers coming to Tampa Bay from all over the world, but we need your help to make it happen. So please visit our website. Check the link once you're in the website in the upper right-hand corner of the screen. And you'll be able to click on that donate button, help us out, especially as you're listening to tonight's live coding. Maybe you have some programming skills and want to give live coding a try yourself. I'll be walking you through how I do it. If that ended up being of value to you, all we ask is that you turn that value into a number and send it our way. It's a model, value for value. So we ask that you really do what you can to support us. Also, we are a registered 501c3 nonprofit organization. So whatever you are able to give tonight and next week, you can deduct it from your taxes. So it's always a nice little perk. So I would say, without further ado, let's get started. Going to do a little test first and make sure that you can hear my super collider sound. I tested it a little bit earlier. It seemed to work fine, but you never know in this day and age with streaming. So let's see. Well, let me go ahead and change the video source so you can actually see what I'm doing. There we go. Well, the meters seem like it's showing activity. It seems like everything is fine. So, can somebody in the chat? I know that there's latency involved, so once you're caught up, if somebody can tell me that you did indeed hear a sine tone, that will be super helpful. That way, I know I can push forward with confidence. Well, thank you, and me. I'm presuming you did hear something. uh, it was kind of if you think that was kind of cool, then you are in for a treat. So, without further ado, I am going to begin tonight. Oh, thank you, Carter, and welcome. Uh, I'm going to begin with our set tonight. And again, for those of you who are just joining, due to some equipment failures and software failures that came up out of the blue, I'm going to have to put off 2/3 of tonight's activities for next week. But the good news is that there will be another performance next week. So, for our set tonight, I am going to, for those of you who have experience in Super Collider, I'm going to be making use of a special live coding centric library. So, without further ado, I will get started. Oh, one more thing. This does actually involve a very small amount of setup that I have to run through before I can get started. So I've annotated a little bit of what I'm about to evaluate so you can see what is happening. So you can see here, I'm setting the tempo to 152 beats a minute, changing the meter to 7/4, changing the mode to C Phrygian, spawning a handy little mixer, might be useful later on. Now, evaluating some custom instruments we will be listening to. All right. Oh, and let me mute myself. All right. Oh, thanks, Anya, and thank you and me for your enthusiasm. Uh, I hope you can hear me. Let's see. It looks like the mic is coming through. Excuse me. But yeah, so my original plan was actually to start with another set, which I will be performing next week, where you can hear some AI powered algorithmic instruments. And this was supposed to be kind of like a fun second act, but it worked out. And I think this is actually a pretty good uh, intro for some of you who've never seen live coding before. Is the nice thing about this particular library, again, created by H. James Harkins, called DDW Chucklive Live Code, is that it greatly simplifies SuperCollider's syntax. So it's pretty easy, I feel, for those who don't have any programming experience to get somewhat of an understanding of what's going on, and how what the coder is typing, how that interacts, how that influences the musical output. Um, Speaking of such, I want to actually run through what I typed, and I'm not going to go through every line of code, but I kind of want to give you kind of a feeling for how the syntax works. And so, as I plan on maybe not always doing kind of an EDM piece, it's just that style of music is what this library really excels at. But you can really live code anything with it. But it's certainly something that I want to build proficiency at, and maybe you will as well once I show you how it works. So let's dive in. So something that you might notice, of course, I started with this initialization file. And the first thing I did was I evaluated this load all CL. This tells SuperCollider to no longer really pay attention to its normal syntax. Well, you could still type normal SuperCollider code, but it adds the special syntax for this live coding dialect, I guess you can say. Then I set the tempo, change the meter, change the mode, as that's actually very important for any pitch based. You can actually set the instruments to respond to just normal MIDI note values, but given it was EDM, I figured why not use a mode. So I chose C Phrygian. I think it worked out pretty well. Here I added a custom instrument. This is actually that during the slow section that did go on for a bit, because it took me quite some time to type the recapitulation out. But that kind of like space. Well, in my mind, I wanted to evoke some sort of outer space feel, with the occasional punctuation with a well, it sounded like a beep. It came from that. So this actually uses traditional SuperCollider code. I ended up not using the piano. Kind of sad. I totally forgot. I put it in there. Actually, it sounds okay. Let's see if I can just. Sounds like a piano to me. All right. But yeah, maybe next jam I'll use the piano. And then how the syntax works is I initialize some instruments. Now, a number of these instruments come bundled with the DDW Chucklib Live Code library or extension. Next time, I think I'm going to use all custom instruments, but this time I wanted to show, I felt like it was kind of a challenge to constrain me more or less to the built-in instruments. So I started with a kick drum, and here you might notice something that looks vaguely like it could be a rhythm. Well, that's exactly what it is. So the neat thing about this library is that you enter rhythms per beat. and as many spaces. So these little vertical pipes are the bar line. Well, not bar lines. Think of it as just it's this the next beat in the subdivision. So this entire thing is a bar of 7/4. And so here's like beat one. And then we have the vertical pipe. The next uh, block of characters is beat two. And the more I type here, the more the I guess you could say the quicker the subdivision. So this is literally like a quarter note. But if I were to add a symbol, now I have 2/8 notes, or that would be an eighth rest and an eighth note. And then maybe I can add like that would be 2/16 notes, a 16th rest, and a 16th note, if that makes sense. So it really doesn't take much getting used to be able to start to program rhythms, and it's also it can do tuplets, so this would be like a triplet. And the different symbols correspond to different amplitude values. So the low bar here is a quieter. It's like a ghost hit, but still it resonates. This would be a ghost hit that doesn't resonate. This is a just a normal resonating kick drum hit and the like. So this is a kick drum, and then you can add instruments to what's sounding by just using the plus sign. So that's pretty helpful. This chucked the kick drum into the mixer, and here it's more of the same with the hi-hat, but you might notice here I started typing in some extra characters. So this INS means to insert a an open hi-hat. So that's what the bar means for the hi-hat. Just insert one of those somewhere in here that isn't already taken up by some sort of a hit, whether it be open or a closed hi-hat. And so any one of these rests could be filled in with one open hi-hat. So it allows for a little bit of generative rhythm making that way. And you can pipe as many of these generators as you want. I could have even had it like insert 3 open hi-hats if I want. I just wanted to start with one. And this is the quantization level, so it's really at the 16th note. It could insert any of these open hi-hats. And the more the same with the clap. Here are some machine sounds. It actually comes bundled in with the library. I thought it was really cool. Same thing with the tink sounds. And then I have the bass line. And here we're getting into the pitch notation. The rhythm still works the same. Each vertical pipe separates the beat. But now we have some articulation and phrasing. So the tilde that you see here actually means it's a slur. So I'm slurring scale degree 2, or the flat 2 because we're in Phrygian, down to scale degree 1. And this is over an eighth beat or an eighth note, so it's 2/16 notes, 2/16 rests. That's the thing, I can't put an eighth rest. As soon as I want 16th notes, I have to essentially treat this entire beat as if it's subdivided into 4 16th beats. So I can't have like 2/16 notes and an eighth rest. It just doesn't work that way. Then if I were to do this, this would be rendered as a triplet. So there are some limitations. And here the 16th notes, scale degrees 2 3 2 3. So that's all pretty self-explanatory. But here in the melody line, the dot, for those of you who are musicians, might recognize that as a staccato, and that's exactly what it means here. So these aren't necessarily legato, but as soon as I put the dot here, it means it will of course cut the note short. If I didn't have the staccato, the scale degree 5 would actually hold out until the next note is asked for, just like here. Scale degree 3 is held across the bar line until the and of 3, where it reverts to scale degree 2. So, and I think I did a pretty good job at rendering staccato. And yeah, it's pretty much more of the same. There are more, of course, you can do more than just insert. There's also a random generator operation here. So I am inserting, but a random value out of scale degrees 0, 2, 7, and 5. And yeah, I then, of course, change the meter to 4/4, and that's how I end. And it's really as Simple as that. Sorry, I'll now look at the chat. The chat was not on my screen as I was explaining. I totally forgot to move it over. Um, you can code a role, although I need to look up how to do it. I know it's possible. I'm just starting to learn this particular syntax now. It's something that I'm actually going to teach my students in my intro to computer music class. So I figured, why not give it a try here? The next set I do next week, by the way, I'm going to be using traditional super collider syntax. And it's not going to be EDM. This is the one EDM piece that I'm going to share around the campfire. Some of the drums are pitched. There's a pitch snare that comes bundled, Bob, with the instrument set. Um, Again, you can create your own instruments. In fact, next time I use this library, this syntax, I'm going to be using 100% authentically crafted instruments myself. And yeah, there's no limit as to the instruments that you can use. In fact, the developer of this particular library has used it to control VST instruments, so software instruments. So like uh, any plugins that you use in a digital audio workstation, you can actually load into Super Collider and control it using that syntax. I'm not going to do that. I still prefer coding my sounds in Super Collider myself, but it is an option. Yeah, and so any other questions about this particular set? Thank you. It's the first EDM I've ever done in my life. Aside from like, well, okay, maybe not really. It's the first I've ever performed. I did very briefly in my 20s experiment a little bit with psychedelic trance when I was living in Japan, but only for like about a month or so. I haven't done any EDM since, and so this is definitely a departure from me. Oh yeah, I just saw in me that you hate piano. Yeah, I get it. The nice thing about this piano, though, I'm using the Ote Piano Physical Modeler and Super Collider. I can actually design the soundboard. I can like make it. Uh, I can tweak how it sounds and even make like an unnatural piano if I wanted. So I could totally well, with enough trial and error, approximate the old detuned piano in your upright, or even do something like an extraterrestrial piano. So again, one of the neat things about yeah some of the extensions to Super Collider. So once again, if you find value in anything that we offer here at camp, be it my live coding for tonight, my very brief explanation of DDW Chucklib, if you're excited about the other sets I'm doing next week, and next week will be two more Super Collider sets and some VCV rack sets. It's going to be truly more of a marathon. Again, apologies for tonight, but my headphones died, my interface died, and certain things broke when I had to upgrade macOS for streaming tonight. But I'm glad I was still able to share what I was able to share today. But if you find value in any of this, if you're excited for Campground, again, in March, Tampa Bay, we have composers, we have performers coming from all over the world. We're it's going to be the second festival that we've hosted, and we're all excited, but we really need your support to make it happen. We need your support as we have educational uh, content on the way. We need support for that. Um, We have tutorial series being worked on. So camp is more than just campground. We're really striving to be to support new music, the creation of new music, the dissemination of new music, to democratize music technology as much as possible. This is everything that we're doing, and we can't do it without your support. So please go to our website. The link is again in the description. When you go to contemporaryartmusicproject.org, on the top right of the screen will be a donate button. If you find value in what we do, we just ask that you put a number to it and send it our way, as we do our best to provide value, and we absolutely appreciate all the value that you're giving us. And there's no right or wrong number to give. It's we're whatever you are able to give. Absolutely, 100% appreciated. 100% of all of our funds go to support our programs, go to support our performers, everyone who works with us to make this happen. And once again, we are a 501c3, so anything that you give can be tax deductible. It is tax deductible, in fact. So please help us out. I will be back again next week with much more. And I look forward to seeing all of you again. I might come up with a new background too to use as a wool. I want to have kind of a roaring fire. Hoping I can get that worked out. I'm also kind of still new to OBS, but it's a pretty good platform. Yes, you can love composers who write for an instrument and not like the instrument. That's our fearless leader going against the grain. Well, everyone, that's it for tonight. This is really more of a preview of the real campfire that we're all going to gather around next week. Thank you so much for attending. It really means a lot to me, and it means a lot to our organization. Please spread the word. I would love to have a super active chat next week. And yeah, look forward to more improv sets, more tutorials, all next week, where we can just kind of gather around the campfire and enjoy live coding and electronic music in general. So thank you, everybody, and I will see you next week.